talked to us early in COVID, one of our first Zoom talks, about his backyard food forest, because I saw a YouTube video, I guess.
Okay.
And then invited him, and then.
Okay.
Tell us what he's learned in 5 years.
All right, so how many of you have seen my formal presentation? Just so I'm not being redundant or anything like that. Okay. So this kind of mimics what I did 5 years ago. What I'll cover is just basically what a food forest is. How many of you have heard of a food forest or know the facets? Do any of you grow food forests yourselves? Anything like that? Okay. So we'll go over that. I'm going to show you a short video that really encompasses everything that I'm doing, my YouTube channel. And then I'm going to do a little virtual tour. I have pictures from 5 years ago and pictures from today. I did that for 2 reasons. One being 5 years ago was a lot different, and part of my presentation is like the evolution of what happens when you have your own ecosystem or food forest. Another factor is that it's barely spring right now, so it's not the loveliest looking landscape right now, but I'm sure you guys can all relate. Luckily, I took these pictures like either yesterday or the day before, and luckily things are starting to pop just barely. I've got some nice blossoms, so I'll have a few small videos encompassed in the presentation as well. So yeah, this is basically the gist. I'll have this up a few times, but this is my YouTube. El Jardín Perdido is my YouTube alias, which means Forgotten Garden. It's paying homage to the location in which I started my garden. I moved there about almost a decade ago, and I could see things popping up. I see like eggplants popping up out of nowhere and stuff. I was already starting to be an avid gardener. And so it's the Forgotten Garden or the Lost Garden. They had fruit trees, unfortunately. They had an orange, they had a grapefruit, really well established. And you'll see in the beginning of my venture that I'm sure you can all relate that our climate's changing. And I'm not like tinfoil hat, like, oh my goodness, global warming. But the fact is we've been getting colder. They say we're in 9B now, starting from, we used to be 9A, now we're moving into 9B. But these frosts, with the exception of this year, it was pretty mild. But I've noticed these frosts, when I started, I had a cinnamon tree, I had avocados thriving for a couple of years, and then boom, a couple of adjacent hard freezes. So I think it's something that we're going to see more of. That also is why things are evolving, because I used to really try to push the growing zone. I'm talking like I said, cinnamon, avocados, different things. Now I'm kind of cutting my losses, but meeting somewhere in the middle, making microclimates. So I'll go more into that, but that's the gist of the operation. The food forest in general revolves more around perennials than annuals. Perennials are the foundation, so you get your larger fruit trees. If you're to start a food forest, that's what you put in first. If you want to start an orchard, anything like that, you start with the fruit trees because they take the longest to produce. And you can move into shrubbery, things like blueberries, although they don't do amazing here, raspberries too, but you find what works. Over the years, I've planted a lot of things, and my trick is I either try to clone things and try to make replicas so I can try to plant them in different spots, see what thrives better. I'm always just kind of moving around, and that's what I encourage you guys to do. This is not a blueprint. This is to encourage everyone here, if you're interested, or even, it doesn't have to be an entire forest. It can be a little guild here. If you have an apple tree or something, you want to plant things around it. You can make little micro ecosystems, and it's really cool. So this is me. I've told you my alias, El Jardín Perdido. I went to University of Houston. Professionally, I'm a videographer and photographer. As you'll see some of my work, there's a camera back here because I can't help myself. I usually speak in front of a camera for a YouTube audience, so that's a lot different than a crowd. Luckily, this crowd's not very intimidating. You guys look pretty harmless, nice smiles, I appreciate that. And so that's my background, and I'm self-taught gardening through the University of YouTube, no formal gardening. The University of Hard Knocks as well, because I've had a lot of like either happy accidents or I've had some atrocious accidents too, but given enough time, things tend to heal. So this will be the video that kind of gives a broad insight into my yard. I'll go into speaking about it, but it's 1/10 of an acre. It's not very big, but I try to do a lot with a little. This was filmed maybe 7 years ago. So the foundation is there, the infrastructure, things have evolved. I'll show you the virtual tour later, but this encompasses the gist. The only thing you're gonna see in here that isn't represented anymore are goats. I was on this hiatus, I'll say, about 4 years ago. Everything was just peak, like the ecosystem, the manure of the goats, everything was just in a perfect cycle. Unfortunately, there will always be an outside element. And part of being a gardener is coming to terms with that early, because there's weather, there's neighbors in my case, there's all sorts of things. So while you can technically own goats in the city of Houston, these are Nigerian dwarf goats. While you technically can and call them pets, I kind of just cut my losses because they hit me up about the chickens, and you'll see. But it was a very peaceful looking atmosphere. And you know, it wasn't like a filthy thing. I kept things clean, but this was what I like to encompass. It's evolved a little bit, but pretty much this minus the goats. But
should we do the lights over the screen?
we can do that for just the video, maybe. Is
Just the screen.
No, I think
Okay.
that's the screen.
Maybe this one?
I think it's supposed to be the screen, but
That's good.
so this is like 5 minutes long, but it's kind of my trailer to my
Leave it
YouTube.
For the other stuff, it's easier.
Give it a click, click. This is Al Jardín Perdido. I started this channel back in 2008, not only to document and learn for myself, but also to share my journey with you guys. I established this food forest in Houston, Texas, Zone 9A, a little more than 2 years ago. I cleared out the land starting from scratch, and I started planting fruit trees, nitrogen fixers, and also made a koi pond. I brought chickens with me and later integrated goats to not only have my own eggs and meat, but also have a source of dairy. The livestock is an incredibly important aspect of this farm. Not only am I getting milk and eggs, but in turn, I'm also getting fertilizer that's being used on all these trees around me, and vegetables. In turn, I'm also feeding these animals some of the fruit that I'm growing, and so it's a closed cycle. I'm on 1/10 of an acre, so I don't have a lot of land to work with. So it takes a lot of careful planning to make this not only permaculturally functional, but aesthetically appealing as well. Things are constantly not only changing with time, but with the seasons as well. So not only am I growing my own food and raising my own animals, I'm also sharing all sorts of skills like seed germination, cloning, plant propagation, grafting, stuff that any homesteader, farmer, gardener, or really anyone should know. such a small piece of land to work on, it's important to utilize some of these techniques like grafting to save space. So whether you're new to gardening or you just want to learn how to plant fruit trees or raise animals humanely, consider subscribing and join me on my journey towards self-sufficiency in an urban environment. That's my yard. I'm right outside of East End. Well, technically in East End, like 610 and 45, I'd say, on the south side. So it's, if I had to compare, because my parents live in Humble, it actually is a little bit warmer in the south of the loop.
Yeah.
But this is not an HOA, obviously. So that's one way I get away with it. And it's a lot with a little. It looks kind of big, I mean, but it's not that big. And even more so now, you'll see some of my stuff, now that the trees have canopied and things get, that's why they say even when you get these little bare root trees and you want to plant them close because they look like nothing. You can't really picture that they'll be 20 feet tall. But I encourage both. I mean, I encourage experimentation, but I think that 15 foot is a good rule of thumb because I have some that are 5 feet from each other. They're almost taking up the same root space. But you also get to a point where 7 years in, 10 years in, you have to start being a steward and helping trees because they're going to try to compete. You have to kind of choose what you'd like to stay, what you'd like to thrive, keep everything low, maybe not. I have mulberries that I use as a privacy fence and a windbreak, and they're huge, but they're serving their function. They have fruit. They have high fruit canopy for the birds. That's another thing. This year and kind of starting last year, the bird population has just boomed, and it's great because we have a lot of barrio dogs and cats, and so they're always stalking birds and stuff. And
What's a barrio dog?
oh well, I say that's like saying from the hood, but
Oh, okay.
in Espanol. That's
actually a nonprofit called the Barrio.
oh yeah,
that rescues-
they're actually close to where I stay, kind of near Bohemians. Why a food forest? It's mainly, like I said, centered around perennials, and it's establishing that infrastructure so that you're not as busy planting. I'm not saying this to say woe is me or boast, but I am a single father, but I have a career, I work freelance, and I have that. And it's a result of me not tending to it like crazy. I couldn't, and that's what could discourage people who want to grow, because that was me. The weekends, I love being out in the yard. That's what I do. You know, I pop out there on the weekends, but I can't do it every weekend. But establishing that infrastructure. But now in the spring, I'm busy too, because that's when I'm popping in all the annuals and putting in the work. But the rest of it is, you know, in the winter, I'll do some pruning right before spring. I'll tend to things, I'll clean things up. You'll see too in the pictures that my garden's not pristine like it used to be. In that video, that was like, I was tending to it all the time. It can't always work like that, which is fine. That's the way I like it. But I am getting to a point now where all the fruit trees are blooming. You guys know that the best time to plant a fruit tree is 7 years ago. The second best time is now. So it takes a while. Working with what you have. Sometimes you may even have established trees that you can either graft on or just native trees. And everything that I plant isn't necessarily because it's edible. I've come to find that a lot of native things pop up, and I always look into whether they have medicinal properties. Sometimes you can use them as biomass. Sometimes they can be habitat. There's a picture later I'll show you of some milkweed that's gone crazy. I planted it once maybe, but I have a monarch butterfly population. There's chrysalises all over, so it's pretty awesome. Houston 9A is when I wrote this. We're 9A, I say 9A/B. Loquats do amazing here. Mulberries, the moringa, I brought seeds for. Papayas do well until the freeze hits, but this last mild freeze, mine will come back if you establish them in the early spring. Bananas do great. When we get the really hard frosts, you may have a year without bananas, but even this last mild frost we had, I'll still get bananas. So yeah, once you have all that canopy layer, established, you can start working with the understory and the annuals, and maybe less adapted varieties. When I say that, I think of things that wouldn't do great if you just plopped it in a big open field, but if you have little microclimates and you start experimenting, like I have the koi pond, and what that does, it's got a canopy of bananas and it creates a lot of humidity, and a lot of things can grow around that pond that couldn't grow way out in the open. So it's about trying to maybe establish, but also be a steward to, but also just play around and find your microclimates. I'm sure you guys know the north sides and the south sides of your houses, what does better there. So it's kind of playing with that. I kind of went over this, the anatomy. I don't love blueprints, but that's the gist. I don't love saying, that's one thing that scared me away from permaculture a little bit, when people are diehard and the guild has to be like this, and I'm not like that. I encourage everyone to experiment, to see what works. I have things that die back. I have opportune mulberries that come up, and I play with it. I'll show you pictures later, but say like, for instance, I made an arch out of mulberry because they grow so well. And another instance, I use it as a canopy for my chicken pen. So just working with what you have. Do you guys know polyculture versus monoculture? I'm sure as gardeners. We want polyculture, which is more diversity, whereas monoculture is what big farming does, and it creates a lot of problems, because if you have one crop, and especially if it's the same variety, it's not heirloom, the problem with that is if you get one crop, you're telling all the pests in the area, like, come and get it. Because basically one crop, you don't have genetic diversity, you don't have disease resistance, you don't have anything. It's just like putting out this frail little thing out into and so as a result of that, they have to spray it. They have to use synthetic fertilizers, and that's what's wrong with our food system. The soil's dead. They have to synthetically try to make soil, which it's not working at all. And eventually that's just tired and dead. But polyculture also invites habitation. It invites all sorts of things. As a gardener, I think it makes things a lot easier having diversity. This entire setup I have isn't to say I want to be 100% sustained, I want to eat off the land. It's one, I've shown my kids how things grow. Two, it's just a supplement. It's just, okay, I don't have to buy strawberries this week. I don't expect to grow strawberries year round, but I've got this week, I've got this next week. You'll see too, I have a little video on a tree that I grafted, and it's like 9 different stone fruits in one. So instead of putting all my eggs in one basket, it's one tree that I'll put off at different times, and you have a variety that way. So it's extending the growing season. I went over a little bit knowing your growing zone. For the most part, my biggest thing is Houston's harder than people might think to grow in. We've got those 2 little slots where it's tolerable for plants in both spring and fall. So you have like those couple of week windows to start establishing your seeds and germinating early and all that. But then you get those extreme heats, so not a lot of plants fare well in that, and then you get the extreme cold, just those little snaps, just enough to ruin your day, ruin everything you worked for. So finding the chill hours is pretty important. I do encourage the experimentation. I've adapted, I think, mostly into this last winter. I've cut my losses on trying to put so many citrus in the ground, and like I said, I used to have cinnamon trees in the ground, and now I'm thinking I have a nice greenhouse now. I can just keep up-potting some of those sensitive ones. Some things can fare in the ground, and you can cold protect things. On my channel, I have videos on different things I've used to frost protect, and they can work, but it's not trying to push it too much, but working with what you have. And for the most part, aside from Lowe's and stuff, they don't do the best job of this, but your typical nurseries around here, the mom and pop ones, typically only stock trees that fare pretty well here. So you're pretty safe if you have a good relationship with your nurseries locally. To most of what they're selling is going to at least fare pretty well here. If not, if they're a nice nursery, they'll at least tell you not to plant that in the ground. But a big thing with establishing that infrastructure of mostly perennial trees is they like eating trees, essentially, wood chips. This is the first year that chip drop actually worked for me. I don't know if you guys use chip drop, show of hands.
On the list, and I
Right?
I resubmitted one day, and that afternoon they came. It was
Mine
like-
came really quick too, because I gave up and I was like,
Yeah.
but I was like, let me see this again. And they came right over. My yard has railroad tracks behind it. I'll show you a picture, but they just dumped a big old load there. I can't mulch everything in a weekend, but what I try to do is find my little guilds and prioritize maybe on what needs mulch the most and just start mulching every other day. I mulch a different spot, but trees love trees, basically the wood chips. So if you can get chip drop, sometimes if you know an arborist or a tree service, or if I've seen people like they're cutting my neighbor's tree, I'll go talk to them, get their card. They are happy to drop off wood chips because they get charged for dropping off their wood chips elsewhere. So you can say like, hey, I'll tip you $10, whatever. Kind of like chip drop. But that was my go-to before chip drop finally worked. And they're really nice wood chips, the ones I got.
As long as they don't leave a bunch of logs with it too.
Yeah.
They do, but I've also learned to work with those.
She's not here tonight.
Oh. Yeah, a couple of logs sometimes are good in permaculture to maybe, you can use them at, hookah culture. I haven't had a lot of luck with that,
Or
but
benches.
yeah, you can figure out ways. I've used them as borders too, or even for beds, and they slowly rot down and add a little bit of health. When you're talking about annuals, you want to use probably not wood chips. They're too carbon heavy. They take too long to break down. A better thing might be leaves or leaf mulch. You can use wood chips. I've just found personally fungal network works better with trees and bushes, and the bacterial network that is more of leaf mulch and stuff like that is more designated for annuals. I went over microclimates a little bit, and these are just a few bullets. South-facing walls, if you want to keep things that fare a little better in the winter. Windbreaks on your perimeter. Planting dense sometimes. Using shade trees as nurse trees. So I've got some pawpaws that I planted that don't do great. I think there's a Texas native one, but these aren't Texas native. They don't do great establishing in Houston because it's so hot. But I planted them under my mulberries. So with that canopy, they've been doing fine, almost to a point where I need to start thinning out the mulberries to let them have more opportunity. So fast growing trees to establish this early on. Like I said, mulberries have been my go-to in Houston as far as like, if I need a canopy, if I need a windbreak, I plant bamboo, but just make sure it's clumping so you can control it. There's clumping and running. Running will go all over the place and make a bamboo forest. You don't want that. What's up, guys? It's 36 degrees in Houston, and I just wanted to illustrate what a microclimate does. Behind me, frost everywhere. Also, you'll see it on my roof. Behind me. But in my yard, there's no frost. And that's a microclimate. That's a combination of both humidity and just having that canopy and microclimate. So maybe only be a few degrees, but those few degrees can protect something from completely dying. So that's pretty good illustration there. As far as my neighbors, like I said, they moved in after they saw I had goats. They saw all this. And it basically just turned in from a petty feud. Basically, my neighbor was smoking all the time, really heavy smoke, 24/7. And I'm outside trying to garden. I have autoimmune issues. And so just smoldering. No, just smoke, billowing smoke for whatever reason.
So building fires and
Kind of, but it was just really smoky. I think he claimed he was trying to get rid of mosquitoes or something, but it made it miserable. And so I kept calling, when it got out of hand, I was calling the police, and so they called animal control. And it turned into this, they called the city on my yard too, so I had to hack a bunch of stuff down. And it was just this mess. Luckily, I find,
You had to hack things down in the back?
Well, just, okay, if there's a city ordinance, there's like, if they want to get technical, most of the time no one cares. We're not in an HOA, but if someone rats on you,
Yeah, and they-
I have gardening pots. That's a no-no. You can't have empty pots because rain could accumulate mosquito larvae. The empty pots were under a carport too, so they couldn't even. Bushes can't be X amount of feet high, so I had to trim a lot of stuff back, manicure it. It was just unnecessary, but luckily, just a little spiritual something for you guys. When you have these encounters, the less you give into it and the more you leave it alone, they tend to fix themselves, which is what essentially happened. On a personal note,
You don't.
the less you fight it, the less you're like, okay, you win and leave them alone. I was going head to head. I was calling the police I called on their lawn. They called on my lawn and they hadn't mown their lawn in a week. So I'm like, right back at you. But it doesn't help to feud. It's really hard when you pour, obviously, your heart and soul into it was very, not just ego damaging, but you guys know that. Some damage control.
Yeah.
But that was just a time in my life where, and I stopped YouTubing, and I try not to think about it too much. And I do miss the goats. And the goats were because we don't really have access to raw milk here. And all of this sprung to, like I said, I have autoimmune issues, and so I've been a real health advocate. And so trying to grow as much as I can, figuring out how things work. The goats were a part of that too, the access to raw milk. But things are recovering pretty well now. And another part of adaptation is knowing that not everything will work. I mean, you could see something on YouTube. We all, I'm sure, get envy and we're like, ooh, I want that. Like, not everything will work for everyone the same way. And sometimes that's okay. There's a beauty to that. There's a beauty to the fact that my garden looks probably nothing like your gardens, but there's beauty in each one. So this is just a where I started kind of thing. Like I said, it's 1/10 of an acre. There's more space behind the shed there, but it's not huge. This is facing the back of my house. This came with the house. So basically there's a train back there. So I think they let it all grow in, which is fine, but it's not, I wanted to start clean slate. So I went to work, chopped all that down. This is kind of first year. I think this was one of the citruses I was speaking to that eventually the frost got to. They did have pomegranate. That was kind of nice. That's after establishing the koi pond. You can see on the perimeter I'm planting things and getting things kind of moving. This is the front palette, blank canvas. So this is kind of where it was going 5 years ago. You see it's a lot different. Probably looks like a traditional garden right now. It's not quite forest, but it's kind of a crowded garden. This was about 5 years ago, and it's kind of a rough part of the season, but I still got some pictures. That's just showing that I'll plant my annuals within some of the bushes and stuff. I utilize like privacy fencing and stuff like that with plants. So this is the older stuff, just to give you guys a gist. That's kind of my backyard, looking a little foresty. That's the goat pen. Now it's just chickens, some bananas, nice rack of bananas. How many of you guys have been able to make bananas work here? No?
Not me personally, but Westbrook and
I was just curious if anyone is successful with bananas here.
I want to.
Yeah.
We have bananas, plantains actually is what we're growing.
Yeah.
But,
have you gotten any?
not this year.
You might get some this year.
We've had,
this upcoming.
The frost hit us pretty hard.
Yeah.
We cut them down, we go straight back up.
Yeah. Just mold or throw a lot of compost on them. They'll do well. So that's just like a typical guild. Just planting around maybe a tree, and that's kind of the privacy fence, a bunch of bamboo there, windscreen. But that's kind of what I do. Like I'll just start planting little guilds, and then they'll slowly mesh into maybe, like I'll start growing one of these in a weekend, and then they start merging and joining. And not everything is like a forest floor. I do have open space, kind of resembling the edge of the forest is where a lot of annuals will grow really well. So I do keep bees. Unfortunately, with the smoke thing, smoke deters bees. So my colony has collapsed, but just this week I got a new colony that looks like it wants to come move in. So some redemption. This is the koi pond. And so you can also plant edibles in there too. This is just elephant ear, more decorative, but also good for wildlife and stuff like that. A lot of different, the bees loved it, wasps and stuff like that. Papaya, they do pretty well in Houston. If you start them right now, you can even just eat a papaya, throw the seeds in the ground, you'll probably still get fruit in under a year, yeah. They like a lot of fertilizer. You get a gist here, but I want to get to where we are now. All right, so this is where we are now. Looks pretty similar. This is just the front yard kind of at an angle. It's a native lilac. You can see that I've mulched everything. Before I got the wood chips, I just grabbed leaf piles from my neighbors, putting them out, and just mulched the heck out of everything.
Are you out there shoveling the mulch? Like, I got a chip drop once and it took me like 3 months, and I just ended up making that a new bed because it was
Yeah.
The chips can be
I
titious.
thought about like a heavy duty rental for
I think the best bet is to just take it one at a time. When you try to think you can, because it's an ongoing thing, and wood chips are good year round. So in the winter, they're good for insulation. In the summer, they also insulate from the heat, and they keep, especially the past couple summers have been almost Mediterranean, like very dry and very hot. And this is my 9-in-1 stone fruit. I think it's 9, somewhere around there, but I've got like peaches and plums. I do have a little video. All right guys, so my multi-grafted stone fruit is in bloom, and I just wanted to show you guys all the different blossoms we have going on here, all the different varieties. So as you can see, this is the pluot. We have apricot, that's a totally different type of flower. We keep going around. We have a plum starting to blossom. We have a couple of different peaches, which are this really pretty flower, kind of looks like a cherry blossom. So graft your trees, get a different variety of fruit.
What was your root stock?
It was just some kind of nursery plum, I believe. I almost lost that whole tree because last year I thought I was tough and tried to do a middle of the summer heavy prune on it because I wanted to, it's because grafts, when it's multi-grafted like that, it's hard to contain because one wants to do well. And so I felt like they were competing and shading too much. If you prune in the winter, you're fine, or early spring, but when everything's budded like that, it was getting too much heat beating down on it. So I almost lost it. I've planted one in my backyard for insurance. I have a peach tree. I haven't grafted onto it yet, but I do intend on regrafting all those grafts onto that one too, just in case, because that's a lot to, if that tree goes, that's a lot of variety. But this is the first year that it's really put off like crazy. I've gotten a couple pluots. I've gotten a couple plums, but this is the first year everything's starting to bloom really well. So.
Have you ever actually had any apricots?
I'm trying to think. I think I did have one of those apricots.
I would think we'd see more of them if they did well here.
I think,
I've never
yeah.
seen anybody growing an apricot.
It could depend on the variety too, because each one of all those has their own chill hours. I forget what varieties I have, but
Did you put all those plums and things onto a peach tree? They're all.
that's a plum tree.
Oh, okay.
But
You said something about a peach.
well, now you can do it on any. They're all interchangeable.
Those stone fruits you.
Yeah,
put
so
on
I have a
the tree.
peach rootstock. I will say not all of them are as compatible. There's probably a better rootstock for XYZ.
Yeah.
That's why nurseries use certain rootstocks, more disease resistance. Some do, they're chosen because their roots do better. So, and then the top is chosen because their fruit's better. So
Yeah.
they're kind of interchangeable, but showing that I let weeds go depending on the weeds. Sometimes I don't mow everything down to the ground. This is a small guild, but I have cabbage thrown in there from the winter still. It still has a couple months before it'll totally get destroyed by the heat. Just showing how I just sparsely kind of throw annuals in my beds. This is asparagus right there, and got some collards and some cabbage. I think I thought it was broccoli, and I really like broccoli, and I saw a 6-pack, and so they got planted all over the place. I don't love cabbage, but I'll make it work. This is a loquat used as privacy. It's an evergreen too, so that's kind of nice. Next to a Russian mulberry. I'm not sure if they have different chill hours, but I haven't gotten, they're the white mulberries. I haven't gotten those yet. And I did functionally plant those to be courteous to my other neighbor because they have a driveway there. So I picked the white variety so I didn't stain their driveway. Yeah, but it is a nice, once it canopies and everything, it's a nice windbreak. It looks nice, it keeps the shade. That's that arch I was talking about that I used with a native mulberry. It planted itself there. I went with it because my arch broke. And so I've been training it to arch over.
Opposite, so you always have thin branches?
I both bend them over because they're really pliable, but then I'll coppice as well. And I do have a smaller one here, and I'll try to merge that into there. I'll try to kind of fuse them together, and it's pretty structurally sound. I haven't had issues with it. And birds love it for some reason. They just love that little canopy. That's a bunch of clover that I used to fight being in my beds. Now I utilize the flowers. It keeps basically it's a living mulch too, so it'll keep your soil cool. So you don't always have to battle the weeds as they say. So that's kind of the privacy there, but I'm just growing some, I think that's bush cherry right there, but just letting the weeds not take over, but if they're ground cover, I'll utilize them as mulch. It's a grapevine going around my carport. It's really nice, really convenient, but utilizing what you have, it's already a structure. It gives me privacy, it looks really nice. The birds come in, pick off a couple. It's nice. That's my mess of a greenhouse after pulling most of it out. Just some dragon fruit and stuff, but I built a pergola just as a hangout, but I found that just wrapping it with some, I guess that's 6 mil clear tarp, perfect greenhouse. And my water heater's here, so I even have heat radiating. It's like just perfect. That's just some yucca, pomegranate, some cacti. I think that's Peruvian apple. This is just being decorative. So that's just an example of pulling out stuff from the greenhouse. Like that stuff I would have tried to struggle to put in the ground years ago. Now I cut my losses. You can always pull them out in and out of the greenhouse, or if you guys have a garage or anything like that. This is another guild, but that's another one. That's white sapote. I've had it before. It was really prolific. Frost killed it. Starting from scratch, but I keep it in a pot now. No big deal. Still serves the same purpose. Some pineapple there on the edge of the canopy. Oh, that was the milkweed, opportune milkweed and a chrysalis monarch. Have a whole little monarch colony there.
How do you address like pests? Like right now, ants are.
Oh yeah, the ants get crazy. I use, of course, a lot of natural stuff. What I've found with ants in particular that works devilishly well is if you find 2 ant piles, you take some of that one, put it there, some of that one, put it there, they fight each other to the death. That's the newest, best work. Yeah, that's the newest, best working. Other than that, I've used diatomaceous earth. I save my coffee grounds. If you sprinkle it on their mounds, it deters their pheromones. They can't communicate right, so sometimes it'll work. They'll more likely relocate, but that's about it. I don't really use anything too
Rodents, mice, rats, squirrels?
I do have rats because I have chickens. The rats I've just been trapping to the best of my ability. What did I have before that helped? Oh, well, I used to have a cat that would take care of rats, but that cat has since gone somewhere, so I'm in need of a cat. Yeah. Sometimes your environment finds a way of resolving problems. So like if a rat population gets out of control, it'll probably attract predators. And I've got some owls around. I've noticed there are predators that notice them. So
Owls are the biggest predator especially they
have to watch my
rats
chickens,
and
but-
mice.
yeah.
And they get most of them actually. People don't realize that, but the owls, there are more owls than you think there are.
Yeah.
I wonder if an owl house would like attract the
Yeah, I've tried to. I haven't had an owl house, but I have.
Do you have trees big enough for them to roost in?
I think so. I have a big ash back here, which is where I see the one owl. And I've seen it perched here. I don't know if I have to worry about my chickens. I do have netting all throughout here to deter predatory birds, because I have seen some hawks and stuff, so at least deter them. But there's a lot of places for the chickens to hang out and hide, and that mulberry covers a pretty good amount. I think that was just showing the mulberry canopy, and that's 3 different kinds of mulberries: Pakistan, Russian, and everbearing. And that everbearing gives off literally all year round, and the birds love it too. That's a windbreak, as well as a really good environment for all the birds too. There's a ton of birds that live in there. I do have quail. I keep my young chickens safe too in there. I have noticed I have a lot more predators now, because things just evolve and things start popping up once word gets out that I have chickens, So protect your birds if you do plan on having chickens. That's the pond. It's my big old mulch pile behind my house, so I just take from that. I haven't really tried to mulch everything this year, but yeah, don't break yourself trying to get to that. Just try it one little guild at a time, or if you notice the soil's really dry in one spot, really try to tackle that. But I think that's just try to get a chunk every other weekend or something. Papaya is starting to come back. I did a frost protecting little short video, but basically my neighbors had left bags of leaves out. So I basically just put the leaf bag over it, and right up to where I had leaves wrapped around it, everything's fine. So it was a good
Cut it off after the frost, did it freeze the tree, or?
I cut it down knowing that it would freeze, but papaya in particular, they'll kind of cinch themselves based on however bad they got frost damage. I did cut it because I could tell where it was.
Come back.
Yeah, it'll come back from the sides here, wherever it didn't get damage, and it'll branch out. You'll actually, essentially with papaya in particular, you can get more branching and more fruit. It's kind of copicing it. I think I was just showing the netting there and the mulberry covering the chickens. Those are the bees that are starting to move in. And some quail and chickens. Those are my chickens from afar. That's just showing the making things functional. Those are my garden stakes that I grow out of the bamboo that I use for privacy and habitat. And we're not going to go into all that. That was if I didn't feel like talking, play a video. So that pretty much concludes the presentation. I don't know time-wise if I went under or over, but. And
What happened to your goats?
oh, okay. The goats. Luckily, I had someone that could, because they called animal control, but I did have a friend that could take them off my hands.
Goats on your property?
Technically, I could have battled it, but my arms were up. And at that time, luckily, I've gotten over some health ailments. I found the reason why I was having issues, but smoke stacked on health ailments, I was just done. I didn't even have the fight for, I was ready to give up on gardening, to be honest, that would have been unfortunate, but.
Is your neighbor still there?
They are, but like I said, I think full circle, very ironic thing is, like I was saying, it was almost like a spiritual thing. It pointed to something in my life. I used to smoke cigarettes for about 25 years, and it wasn't until I quit smoking that he quit smoking. And I don't know how the universe does whatever it does, but so when they say like spiritually, usually if you have an outside problem, it's to show you an inside problem. I'll take it as that. But ever since that, we leave each other alone. I will say, I looked up on my camera today, the trash, the city didn't pick up my trash because it was knocked over this morning. Guess whose dog did it? But guess who's not gonna, I have my yard, no one's complaining, whatever. I just have to like.
Bad
Giving
neighbor.
some of your harvest and shocking.
What's that? Oh.
Share some of your.
Yeah, I know. Like, well, initially that's what I was doing. I was trying to kill him with kindness, but that didn't work. But
And the eggs.
yeah,
And the eggs were expensive too.
And you said you live on your property.
I do.
You do
I
live on
own the house, so.
Okay.
And with the structure there, do you capture any water, rainwater?
No, I should with the pergola that I made, because that's plexi, which technically I guess that's, it'd be good for watering the plants, because that's technically still microplastics. My roof I don't, because it's asphalt, and we get so hot here. If we didn't, I don't know if you've ever been on a roof in Houston, and it's like, that's like sticky ass, like water's picking up that stuff. So I think you could maybe water plants with it. I'd never drink it personally, but.
Off into a rain barrel, I mean, off the gutters.
Yeah, and technically I think if you used gravity and you could even filter it after the fact. But yeah, it's something I've considered, but I don't have any structures that aren't asphalt, and I'm only weary because you can, if it rains and it's hot, you can smell the asphalt. Like it's like, so that part deters me a little bit, but that is a good thought. What's that?
You still have chicken.
I do. And like I said, these battles happen like after the fact, after all the neighbor stuff, I started getting a flock repopulated, and I have kind of exotic chickens and I'm trying to make my own breed. And the other neighbor's dog, this thing jumped a 4-foot fence just for fun, demolished them all. And I had to start from scratch. So these things happen. It's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really hard. You've had Mickey here before speaking,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, from Eden. He's pretty lucky with that because I've been to his, what he had. I think it still exists. He's just in Hawaii, I guess, but he seemed to have things closed off.
Did someone take on his Inwood Eden? Say it again, I'm sorry. Did someone take on Mickey's Inwood Eden?
I think
Did you give it to
someone
somebody?
watches, or at least feeds chickens or something.
Yeah. You don't know?
They're, she's friends with his parents.
I didn't know if that was a grant or how he attained, because he's got a lot of,
He found
That's a
it
big lot.
Before, you know, the
Yeah.
gentrification happened in the area.
yeah.
Yeah.
Were there any other questions?
Do you plant for the birds, or do they eat the mulberries? Or
Yeah, now, well, I keep height, like I could prune things way down, but my thing is like I leave a little extra for the birds. So where if it was only for me, I'd cut things way back, but I do let things get a little wild for the birds. I haven't purposefully planted, other than knowing that they like mulberries and stuff. And and you talked about pests and what I do for certain things. Like if I know birds are going to eat peaches and stuff, like I'll wrap some up in netting, but I also know that if I keep it high enough, they're more likely to go for the higher stuff. And so I do share, but
Have you grown figs?
yeah, I do have figs.
Yeah.
Okay, because I've had figs and I've never had a single one.
Oh,
I think
really?
but we have.
Well, I also literally share figs because I know birds will just peck at them and they drop, and I'm
Yeah.
like, whatever. But I'll share. Yeah, that's another thing. Bird baths help deter that because they're thirsty. So if you give them water, they're less likely to, because they'll just peck at it just for a swig.
So on the subject of birds, there's a species that's starting to make its way into Houston now, and it's very aggressive, the bulbul, B-U-L. And it's mean as hell, and they're beautiful. They almost look like a baby cardinal, kind of brown with a reddish crest. But they're very aggressive, very territorial, and mean as hell. And what's happening is some of them starting to kind of show up in the Heights area, and they're now kind of moving south. I live in Montrose, and we're stuck. And what'll happen is you'll get 2 of them, and some 2 blue jays or some mockingbirds, and they're all kind of that way. And next thing you know, there'll be 20 of these bulbuls. They get the word out, and they're there. The problem I have is they took about a quarter of my entire zipper cream southern pea crop. They go in and they literally can take the pea right out
Oh,
of
wow.
surgically.
Wow.
I mean, and they know exactly when it's ready. When it's
Oh,
ready.
yeah, of course.
And-
You always have to beat them to that.
And my whole thing of putting the netting up, they were like, "Thank you, now we have something to hold on to." But I'm trying to figure out what am I gonna do is, because I love growing that variety, and I don't know.
No.
Yeah, you gotta be clever. I would have thought the
But
netting would
bulbul
deter.
is the name of them, and you're starting.
I have a lot of
they're pretty,
cardinals,
but they're in pairs typically.
Okay.
But they're always like, there's some others around, and when they start screaming, they all come
And you
together.
can't kill them? You can't shoot them or something?
Shoot 'em.
Get a cat.
You can.
Cat should help at least.
I mean, our BB got a garden cat, maybe.
Yeah. Cats do pretty well.
shotgun.
Just
is
maybe
not-
have some kitties on your porch.
It's like my problem.
Tomorrow those kitties will come.
Well, where I am, you could probably do a shotgun.
You said something earlier, I was gonna ask about the trees. You said something about the trees, like the fungus,
Yes.
but that
Fungal
the
dominated
annuals.
soil, yeah.
What was it?
Yeah, trees and forests have fungal dominated soil.
So when wood breaks down, fungus breaks down wood. And when you hear about the mycorrhiza, that's basically the fungal network is all, if you cover everything in wood chips, it encourages the fungal network, and then the roots of the trees speak with that. And they exchange sugars and information and all this stuff. And so, yeah, they like that. Bushes and pretty much anything with a wood stem responds well to fungus. Where if you pile on too much with annuals, that can sometimes like rot things, and it can sometimes make problems. If you do mulch around tomatoes or anything like that, you want to like kind of scoot you don't want the wood touching.
Yeah.
It's like too much of a good thing sometimes.
What do you, because I've read, I'd love to do bananas, I haven't yet. I had a plantain one year that came out of the compost pile, but I read that you just chop it when it's gonna freeze and then you just mound.
You could, yeah.
Is that what you do,
I-
or?
I was, like this year, I was wishful thinking, well, bananas have like a few defenses too. So if it's like a mild freeze, sometimes their leaves will just die back and protect their trunks. It's kind of ingenious.
Yeah.
So they're built to maybe withstand a certain temperature.
Yeah.
And so this year I tested that theory to see how much of themselves they could protect. And they did about halfway up to here was protected, but
We got
so
down to
it depends.
in the 20s, mid-20s
yeah.
this year.
If you know it's going to be like that one year where it was a week of 20,
Yeah.
you're better off cutting them to the ground and piling all that mass on, because that'll create heat
Okay.
in itself while it breaks down. And so, yeah, if you know it's going to be terrible. But
Yeah.
yeah, we get these, it's like everything teeters in Houston. It's just so,
It's all a
Well,
crapshoot.
Yeah.
You got a really good stand of bananas.
Yeah.
yeah. There was one year where I was just
That's like-
literally racking them in. Like I had like 5 racks one year. I do have a lot of like clumps. So I have them planted in different places, but
Do you get are they the little bananas or the long?
I have Orinoco, which are kind of a mix between plantain and it's kind of a hybrid,
Oh, okay.
but they're like something you'd probably want to cook.
Okay.
But if you let them get like almost black, you can eat them
Yeah,
raw.
Okay.
So they're pretty similar to plantains. But then I have Kasang Kalang. I haven't tried yet, but they apparently taste like cheesecake. Can't wait to try them.
Wow.
I think they're somewhere from Asia, but it's a pretty rare one.
Wow.
I have ice cream banana,
Yeah, the ice cream.
and I have one other one. I can't think of the name. I haven't had the ice cream.
But they're
It's
all-
one very
the bananas
similar.
are all seeded.
No, they don't have seeds.
Oh, they don't have seeds?
No, there are seeded bananas, but none of mine are seeded. Most bananas are cultivated from clones, but at least somewhat. Even nursery commercial bananas are usually.
You ever tried jujubes?
Yeah.
I would think.
Love, hate. Because they put off
We'll get to
great.
one about the spines.
Yeah, the spines and the fact that they're runners.
And they'll throw-
And I love walking barefoot.
and, yeah,
so-
that's the other problem.
Yeah, but if it wasn't for that, I haven't found a workaround. Other than when they're more established, you can cut the thorns off of what's grown already. They won't grow back. But they keep branching off. Every new branch will have thorns, but mostly it's the
I had
runners
3
that
of them
kill me.
going, I finally said, this is not working now.
I love the
I
fruit.
just, you know, and you're right, all of a sudden you saw this, you'll find a thorn coming right out of the ground, and you know.
And they're nasty.
They are nasty. They're-
I was pruning mine. I did a heavy prune on the one in my front yard. It snagged me here, great. But I could see it like it wouldn't let go. Because they have they're hooked. Oof.
Oh,
Yeah, they're bad. And they have some kind of a neurotoxin because they really sting. Like a rose, you know how roses, they'll cut you, and
Wow.
I don't know if it's a bacteria or something, but they'll get you. But I love the fruit,
Yeah, they're wonderful.
and they're productive. Yeah.
No, are you still cutting lawn? Like,
I do, yeah. I still leave, I'd almost call it, especially the front, is more like edible landscape, because the front, especially because I've had issues with the city before because of the neighbors, It's lawny, but most of it's on the perimeter. And now it's kind of like undulating perimeter and kind of it's encroaching, but I still have a lawn. But even lawn serves a little purpose in itself too. Like everything has a purpose. It's when it's monoculture all lawn. Because some things whether it's weeds, whether it's flowers, like they like that open space or borders, but.
I have a mango tree, and it's actually giving mangoes, and they're just, there's hundreds
Is it
of
in the
different types
ground?
Huh?
Is it in the ground?
Yeah, yeah, and I have a structure. I've taken a rebar and built
Okay.
Take 2 full-length rebar things. They're, I don't know, 16 feet or something. And I leave it there because it's rusted. And so you really can't see it in the tree.
So is it rebar and then PVC?
No, just a giant piece of rebar down like this. But then when it freezes, and it's exactly the height of a king-size mattress cover. And we keep the tree cut down to that because I can put a comforter over the top, and then we have buckets of water with a heat lamp, pointing into the water, and then we put this king-size mattress cover over it. It goes right down to the ground, and we've saved them now for 3-4 years.
All right now.
That's impressive.
So yeah, but it's a lot of work, and every year it's like, I cannot believe we are doing this, because we do it.
That's worth it though, for I would say, from what I've learned, because I do have a few citrus still on the ground and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you can get up and scramble around and protect maybe 5 trees, great.
Yeah.
But there was a point where everything was in the ground and I was trying to protect 20 trees and it was just too much. So I literally, one year I scooped them out and I'm like, I'll take the dieback, whatever. Because they weren't huge. They were here and getting trunks pretty established. But I scooped them out, potted them, put them in the greenhouse with the intention of planting them back. But they were so shocked by that back and forth because it takes months to recover from being in the greenhouse, being out there. So now I just keep them in pots. I'll keep up potting. But your mango is very encouraging. Maybe I'll try a mango
Well, the
again.
guy from Urban Harvest, what's his name, Jeremy?
Yeah, Randall Nosson.
Oh, Randall, yeah. So he had structures that he had ready to, because he grew a lot of things that we never heard anybody talk about here before. But
These are the best mangoes I've ever eaten in my life. And I grew up in Southeast Asia during the Vietnam War, so I've eaten mangoes. And these were the best mangoes I've ever
I was going to say, because I'm sure they have to ship them so early,
Yeah.
but because even now you buy them at Whole Foods and they're way underripe. But
I had to figure out how to keep the squirrels. I still have not,
I'm sure.
I do not want a squirrel to touch or taste this thing, because if they do, it's
word
over.
will get out.
So what I've finally done is that you get those plastic strawberry containers,
Okay.
and you
Oh, okay.
clamp all the way around, and so far they haven't gotten in, but I've also bought metal bags.
I would, yeah.
And, put
Mangoes
so
are-
far I'm okay, but I've been able to allow them to fully ripen and fall into the bag, and that's a mango.
That's gotta be a
It actually ripens on the tree.
Yeah.
I had a mango party and
Come on now.
yeah,
What
everyone,
kind
I
is
only
it?
had 6 mangoes, but everyone said it was the best mango they've
What
ever
kind?
had.
Do you know the variety?
It's so expensive.
The one that one is a sweet tart, and it literally tastes like a sweet tart. It's sweet and tart. And then this year, I've gotten a carry. I bought a carry that I'm going to keep in the pot, but then I also got an orange sherbet, which was voted multiple years in a row the number one mango in America.
See, that's worth grafting onto, because
Yeah,
when a tree's that established, how thick is the trunk?
the sweet tart, the one I've had for 5
Uh-huh.
years, I'd say it's
Okay.
about this.
Yeah, so if
Yeah,
you
I guess I could, yeah.
coppice one branch or something
Yeah.
and start putting on different varieties. The only thing is the further you get, because I'm sure when you cover it, it still dies back, right? A little.
No, because
Oh, really?
I keep it cut so that it fits
Okay.
under that king size bag
Okay.
cover.
Yeah, because I've had it where I'll cover things, but it'll still die back a little.
Yeah.
But that's more contact because I used plastic probably.
Yeah,
But
and I literally put a quilt over the thing.
wow.
It's so
Well, I'm
spoiled.
taking notes because I'd love that. I tried one mango in the ground. I think I tried twice, but
This guy that works for Urban Harvest, he has structures already ready to be covered and wrapped. That's what little
I
I
mean, you
remember
can
from
put
his talk.
rebar in the ground, right? and
I've seen you
use your
say, yeah, you
PVC.
said rebar. I've seen people use rebar and then put PVC around,
Yeah.
use that as the
Yeah.
stakes,
But
and then
these are
cover.
sick, there was some construction going on. And you had to
Oh,
drag these
okay.
stakes. Otherwise, I don't know how you would get them because there's,
Yeah.
the rebar is so long, you know.
There's a lot of free T-posts out there with campaign signs on them.
There you go.
I
So the
looked up some
pawpaws,
that were the U-posts because they're easier to get.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned you had some pawpaws underneath the mulberry, because they like the shade
Yeah.
generally. So they.
Now they could probably be without it, but I like the mulberries now. I might regraft those varieties elsewhere, but because they are getting pretty big, but I think they hit a stopping point.
So they're producing?
Yeah, I think I haven't had any from the White Russian. It puts flowers off like crazy, but I don't know if that has chill hours because it's White Russian. I would think Russia would be a colder climate.
Yeah.
The Pakistan mulberry is very cold sensitive for a mulberry, so I've had parts of it die back. I got literally like 2 of them. They're so good if you can get them going, but they're real long. Big. Oh, the flavor is, but it's flowering like crazy right now, so hopefully,
It's a good sign.
yeah.
Where did you get it? JRN or
I think I ordered
are you?
like a tiny little scion,
Yeah.
and you can, they're easy to propagate, but that's
How
still
do you
dicey.
protect it?
I can't. It is what it is. Like the trunk's really thick now,
Okay.
so even with the last, like when we got way low in the 20s for extended days, that took a few branches out, but it didn't kill the tree.
Okay.
So,
okay.
and plus it doesn't have rootstock. It is its own rootstock because I grew
Yeah.
it from a scion. So even if it died to the ground, it would still grow true.
Okay.
And it grows so vigorous that,
Okay.
so,
I have to get one of those.
yeah.
I just have to really
Next,
mess.
do you ever do a scion exchange here? Maybe
No, we haven't.
we could do that. Even though we've missed the boat a little bit because
Yeah.
you can still use after spring, but it works better before things bud. I used to, I need to graft more, but.
There's
I
a
used to.
rare food growers group.
Yes,
Yeah.
Bill Lawrence and stuff.
And they have
down
gatherings periodically.
I'm sure you
I think
know
I,
about that.
I
Yeah.
know about it, but I've never been to
They've
one.
already had their
Yeah,
spring
You
one.
really need to go anytime.
Yeah.
It's remarkable.
Yeah, there's a guy that really organizes,
It's
really
Bill
is, yeah.
Scott, it's
You don't live that far from me. I live right at 610 and I-45, right outside
He's on
of
the
you.
south
Okay.
side. He's on the south side.
Oh, you're on north?
Oh, you're
I'm
on
on
the
south,
south side.
yeah.
Oh, I'm
She's
on the
in Garden
northwest
Hills.
side.
So we
Oh,
do live far.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
I've worked near where you are, but
Okay.
I think most of Houston can work. It's just a matter of, I would think even further south than me, you could probably pull off a little more, but I mean, the fact that you have a mango in the loop,
But like I
basically.
said, it's ridiculous what we go through. My husband has like a.
It's worth
he's-
it though.
Oh my God, this mango is, and now I have all these people, when's the mango party? When's the mango party?
You're gonna get one year though where there's like 50, I bet. I know you said you only got 6, but you'll probably get a
Yeah.
year where it's just
Oh, you
gonna.
should- The tree this year, I don't know what the deal is, but you know, so many of them fall.
Mhm.
They have lots of flowers, but then the flowers,
Oh.
a lot of.
Yeah,
tons of
I heard
flowers.
there's tricks with mangoes.
Yeah.
They need to be desperate. Yeah, they need
Yeah.
to. Some, like even guavas need stress. Like when I prune back my guava like crazy, it'll flower really well.
Oh,
So
wow.
some plants need stress.
My husband puts a little temperature gauge right next to the trunk, so we know, and we have 3 or 4 other citrus, so we have temperature gauges outside to measure the outside temperature, and then right next to the trunk, and we're in the house, you know, checking on these trees out there. The minute they start to go below, we're running out there with hot water, and it's ridiculous what we do, so I wouldn't recommend.
If it's one, I think I could, but
Yeah.
there's times, yeah,
You
where
can't do
where
it
when
if
things
you're
are,
working.
I'm more worried about the pipes bursting than a plant sometimes.
I know.
Sometimes,
It's ridiculous what we do, yeah.
You have your own incandescent Christmas lights.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Although, apparently I need fuses, but when I was gathering all mine this time, happily a few of them worked.
I have to show you a picture of my mango, of course.
Oh yeah. Well, I appreciate everyone. This was an awesome group.
Where do you go to, H? You faculty there?
Oh, I went to U of H for graphic design back in the day.